morning, everyone. I'm Lynn, and welcome to another day at Utopia Farms. I see we have a new truck in the driveway back there. So a new truck means we have visitors. It's not our new truck. Someone else coming to look at some lambs for their flock. And this person has been coming here for probably as long as we've had sheep, so it's always nice to see the old guys coming back. This is one of our oldest customers. You were here right from the start, I think, here. It's been years. Hi, boys! So we're still in that hot, humid air mass that's been hovering over all of North America, pretty well the northern hemisphere, it seems like, for the whole summer. So because we have the Suffolk breeding groups in here, even though this is a cooler barn, because of the darkness and stuff, it was getting a little stuffy if the wind died down. So we've got our big giant fans out, blowing on each side. And right now they're all eating, but during the day they all come and stand in front of the fans. So they really like that. It makes a lot of difference. It doesn't make it so much colder, but it does move that air so it's fresher in here. And there's the ram. He's checking the ewes out. So right now I'm in putting salt mineral in basically the Dorset lambing barn. And this is where we have the recovering Suffolks, the ones that had the parasites, and thought we'd have a look at them. You can still see their backbone and stuff, but they're a much more vigorous group of rams right now. They are right into their feed and they are gaining weight. They are still way too thin for my liking, but they're not on death's door anymore. So basically I'm just showing you one of the fundamental things about all sheep, or all animals, people in general. Genetics play a great role in their development, and that's why people choose from purebred flocks for their rams and stuff, and like to see genetic testing and performance records and stuff like that, because a lot of that has to do with genetics. But another thing that's fundamentally true is that 50% of your sheep is due to environment. So you can have fantastic numbers on your sheep, but if you're not feeding them correctly, keeping things clean, treating for parasites, how you feed, what you feed, all of these things affect their growth, which affect their loin depth, which affect their weights when you do their little performance testing results. All of those things change that. So if these rams had gotten these parasites when they're little babies, when you're weighing them at like 100 days, they would automatically get a really terrible score. So they wouldn't get their high ranking on Genovis if you're in Canada, or high production numbers in any other countries, because they will have had an environmental factor that stunted their growth. So I know a lot of people are big believers in numbers, But when you look at numbers on sheep, you also have to look at how they're fed. Generally, flocks that are feeding corn silage or heavy grain to their lambs and ewes are going to have much higher production numbers because their sheep are going to be heavier. Are they better? Not necessarily. It means they're heavier. So when you're choosing to buy replacements for your own flock, looking at how the sheep are managed, as well as looking at their performance records, should be something you do. Just looking at performance numbers is only going to tell you half the story. So don't be deceived by high numbers or even low numbers, because generally a pasture-raised animal can't stand up to a confinement-raised animal on corn silage for growth rates, because the feed input is not equivalent. So you gotta measure apples with apples, oranges with oranges, and take that all into account. So if you're judging your own animals and they're all fed the same, then the numbers apply for your animals only. But when you go onto a national scheme, you better be looking at the healthcare and flock management that's going on, because generally, if you want to have better animals, more productive animals, you should be feeding well. You should have a really clean environment, and you should be selecting for good conformation. And all those things make the big, broader picture. And I guess I'll get into performance testing. So that is also something you have to take with a grain of salt. It's a fantastic tool to know how your sheep and your flock are performing, but you don't have to be on a program that you have to pay for, like Genovis in Canada, to have performance tested sheep. You're quite capable of doing all those records and crunching numbers yourself, because you do it through a program doesn't make your sheep better. It just makes your sheep more expensive, because again, it's something you have to pay for. And if you know anything about science and studies, when you are making claims about specific traits and stuff, to back it up scientifically, you have to have sheep that are comparing with other sheep raised under identical conditions, meaning same time of year, same feed, same breed, same like cohort, like they're all birthed within, say, the same month or whatever, and you have to have a lot of them to get accurate sample sizes, and it has to be over many, many years for the cumulative data to actually show trends. And unfortunately, a lot of the genetic traits that sheep carry and that you might be breeding for, like multiple lambs or good conformation and stuff, it's not one gene that does that. It's a combination of genes put together, and always combined with your environmental things such as the feed, the conditions, the time of year you're breeding, the breed you're using. So all of those added influences on the sheep breeding, like they get a Cache Valley virus comes through, whatever, it is going to greatly skew your results, making performance records a good tool, but definitely not the end game tool that you should be using, because they are only showing you a small picture. Even with all, it lets you know how your sheep are comparing with each other in your flock. So if you want to use it a tool for yourself, it can be a good guide to say that your sheep score 95 and your neighbor's sheep score 85 on growth or whatever, doesn't mean that those 90s are better than the 80s. You'd have to go see them, because the 90s could be from a really scrawny flock. So the best of them scores in the 90s, but he might score like 40s on someone else's flock because they feed better or breed at a more profitable time of the year. So you want to look at, when you're going on number-based things, you want to see how they compare with other sheep of your breed in the entire country, and they do have those records. They will put them up, and those are more of a record to look at. But again, it is not a complete picture, because hardly any flocks in Canada are on these tests, so the sample size is very small. And the only way those records would be much more accurate and a better guide is if it was a mandatory program and everyone had to be on it, and a government official or a sheep official or whatever came in and did all the weights or observed them. Because when you're weighing yourself, you also have the confounding factor of people's scales being a little off, people wanting to sell breeding stock, so they might want to add maybe 5 or 10 pounds to the sheep. Maybe it was born December 1st, we'll mark it as January 15th. You hate to say that, but it happens. So performance records, I get it, there's a little bit of a point to it, but again, please look at the sheep. See the breeders, see the sheep, and how they're feeding them, what time of year they're breeding. It makes all the difference. I'm finding that a lot of people who are on these test programs are very quick to crucify and criticize those people who are not, which is the majority of sheep breeders in Canada. And it's kind of like, if I'm on it, it's the best thing and everybody else is wrong. I posted some of my sheep on social media in the scales when I was weighing lambs, when I had those 130, 140 pound rams at 100 days. And I had a comment from someone on test saying, you can post all the numbers, all the weights you want, but it means nothing if you're not on tests. And my knee-jerk response would have been, good thing I'm not on tests, because I would put you guys all to shame. But again, it's kind of like the people who are on it feel quite okay with criticizing those who are not, but please don't criticize those that are on it. And it's kind of like religion. If you don't believe in God, the religious people will tell you how you're going to hell and stuff. But if you criticize them for believing in religion, you're a terrible bad person. It's always these double standards thing. Like, I don't think it's right to criticize anyone ever unless they're really trying to do something bad. And I don't think people who are not on tests are trying to do something bad. I think for them it's more practical not to be on tests, because there's not a lot of wiggle room in the sheep industry as far as profits go. And if you're testing everything, and your profits are going to be diminishing. And yeah. Anyway, I was going to do a video on this yesterday, and that's why I didn't post a video, because I thought, are people going to be criticizing me now, saying that I don't know what I'm talking about and all that stuff. And or people getting mad and leaving, saying that all sheep should be on tests and things like that. But, I thought I had to speak up because I get a little tired of being criticized for things that are not legitimate. So I feel it's everybody's right to say their opinion and what they believe. And I think the proof is always in the pudding. And here is Crookie. Hi, Crookie. You're such a good girl. And he's over there eating. And it looks like Lambert, who was here yesterday, is going to buy Crookie and Annie and 6 others and a ram. So they've got a home. So thanks for listening to a lot of my opinions again today. Tomorrow we're going to have more of our typical normal videos showing you what's going on around the farm, what we're doing, and we'll put aside the controversy for just a little while. In the meantime, we're going to seek shelter from this sweltering heat and hope you'll join us again for the next episode at Utopia Farms. Bye for now.